I am not a medical professional. I am not a person I'm not a person with a medical degree, nothing. All I do is sew. Okay? Okay. Hi and welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, my name is Melissa and I upload sewing related content. So if that's something that you like, go ahead and hit that subscribe button or check out some of my videos. If you are a returning subscriber, thank you again so much for returning, and without you, I probably wouldn't be making these videos. So thank you. Let's get into it. My very first video here on YouTube was actually how I sew my weighted blankets, and I don't sew any more weighted blankets, so do not contact me to sew weighted blankets because I don't do that anymore. But that was my very first video and I showed how I made them, but I had mentioned where I bought my plastic poly pellets because I know they can get really expensive. And the company that I mentioned, along with discount codes and stuff, it turns out they're now scamming people. I don't know if scamming is the right word, but what do you call a company that doesn't send you your product and keeps your money and still is accepting orders at this time and has multiple complaints with the Better Business Bureau? Not okay. That is not a company that I will continue to mention. If you are searching for plastic poly pellets, look on Etsy, Amazon. I don't know if eBay is a good price. If any of you know any other consumers, go ahead and leave a comment down below. If you don't know what a weighted blanket is, I think they've kind of hit the market pretty high lately, so I'll just let you know what it is. A good example is, have you ever gotten an x-ray for your teeth? Then you know they place that really heavy jacket on you and you kind of just sit there like this. Okay, the reason why you're able to sit there through it patiently is because that weight on your body helps release serotonin, that helps create melatonin. So if you have trouble sleeping, if you have trouble with anxiety, Asperger's, the autism spectrum, any kind of mental health, anything that hurt, arthritis, what's another one? Anything kind of chronic, mental health related, it helps with so much. Anyways, I can ramble on and on and on of the benefits of a weighted blanket, but if you are just here for the tutorial and how to make one, let's go ahead and get started. The items that you will need to sew this blanket is fleece or flannel fabric. I am using flannel this time. And cotton non-stretch. I usually use that for the design. Rotary cutter or scissors, a protractor, and plastic poly pellets along with a measuring cup, and a sewing machine that is already threaded, just to make things easier. The first thing that you're going to do is you're going to open up both pieces. Both pieces are cut, measured, washed, and ironed. Before you do anything, you want to make sure you iron at least the cotton non-stretch design fabric, the minion fabric. The soft fabric, flannel or fleece, you don't have to iron, especially fleece. You don't want to iron fleece. Flannel does pretty okay. Next, you're going to pin 3 sides. Think of a pillowcase. You know how a pillowcase is sewn on 3 sides? Both of the sides, the bottom and the top, is open. That is how we want to leave this, like this. We don't want to completely shut it or leave a 4-inch gap. We want to leave a whole side open, just like a pillowcase. And we are just going to go ahead and sew these sides, and make sure when you're sewing to have the soft fabric, flannel or fleece, facing the top. You don't want the soft fabric on the bottom because it messes up your pins and it gets caught, and it's a smoother sewing process at least for my machine, all machines are different, but for my machine, it's easier for me to have the soft part up and the cotton non-stretch design fabric at the bottom. So now that we have sewn these two pieces together, we're going to go ahead and use our scissors and cut the excess fabric. We don't want to cut where we sewed. We just want to cut the fabric that hangs on the outside. We want to make sure to also clip our corners. Cut up, cut down, oh, ouch, cut, and then it's a nice slant. I accidentally hit my finger there with the scissors. And we just want to continue to cut the excess fabric. Cutting the extra fabric outside from where we sewed will help it look nice and crisp. If you are giving this as a gift for someone, I know that my ironing board is not the cleanest looking ironing board. If anybody comments down there about my ironing board and is not subscribed, I'm just going to tell you right now, that is why I still have the same ironing board. Please subscribe to my channel so I can eventually get a new pretty ironing board. Thank you so much. And we will now proceed with the program. Bye. When it comes to making something homemade, you want to make it look like it's not homemade. So make sure to follow these steps, especially if you're gifting this to someone. If you are selling these blankets, make sure to just take the extra time to make them look nice and crisp, okay? And ironing them is the perfect way to make them look crispy and nice and beautiful, and it also helps them last. This is how I iron my seams open. It makes it easier for me. It helps separate and open them up and kind of seal everything. When it comes to flipping this over, you guys will see the change that it does, and it also helps with the corners. The corners, I will give you guys a better view. This is why we cut them, so that they can open like this and kind of flare out like this, and they just look so good and better. And now we're going to go ahead and flip this out. And okay, no more soda. Sorry, guys, my son. And now, here are the corners. And now I iron them like this because, again, it helps it have a nice crispy finish. It's so much easier when you take the time to do this because it's just easy to sew. Now we're going to iron it flat, and we are going to sew 1/2 inch of a seam allowance for the border. So this is just the top stitch border. And we're just going to sew it. You want to think of the person that you're giving this for. If something happens, if it rips, you want to have enough seams in there to keep everything safe, like so. And it makes it look crispy. I don't know how else to explain that. It just makes it look very, very pretty, very well put together. Again, just iron it. Ironing also helps seal the seams, so it's just a really good thing to iron everything. And here we're going to fold the pillowcase, the blanket, the weighted lap pad, whatever you want to call it. We want to fold it in half and iron on the cotton design, because now when we open it up, there's a straight line in the middle, and that is what we're going to use to guide us to sew. And now we're going to sew it towards the middle. This moment I realized I didn't have my headband, so I went to go get it. I was just like, oh my goodness, my hair looks ridiculous. I'm sorry, you guys. And here again, we're just going to fold it again towards the middle. And you always want to fold it the middle first. You always want to fold it in half because it helps distribute all the lines evenly. So you fold it in half, you fold it towards the middle, and then as the bigger the blanket gets, for those of you that are making really large blankets, this system will help you guys make all the lines even. It will help you keep your fabric together, and it'll just make it so much easier because then you just follow the lines. And we're going to go ahead and sew them. I know I have this big pile of clothes behind me. I am working on another video. I am going through all my scrap fabric right now. I'm trying to see if I can create any items with any of them, even for my kids. So I know there's a big pile. I promise my sewing room isn't always this messy, okay? Okay. Now that we sewed the 3 rows, we're just going to go ahead and so we sewed 3 stitches and that gave us 4 rows. We're going to use our handy dandy protractor that you can't really see because it's clear, and we are going to use the measuring cup to go ahead and fill the pockets, tunnels, funnels, seams, whatever. That is what we're going to use. I did put the measuring cup that I'm using is a 3/4 quarter cup, and I put 2 scoops in each row. So in each row I put 2 scoops, and because I wanted it to be heavier and I wanted to use about half of this container, half of my plastic container is about 2.5 pounds, close to 3 pounds. This is about a 5-pound container. So if you do want a 5-pound weighted lap pad, you would have to use a container like this and use all of them. It's easier when you make a bigger blanket, but here I'm just showing you guys. And now that I pushed all the plastic poly pellets down, I use the protractor to push them down so that they don't get stuck on my machine. Again, you want to put the soft part up. Here, I use the protractor to help me. I don't use a pencil. I don't use anything. I just use the protractor to help me and make sure that nothing gets caught underneath my needle because it will break your needle. These are plastic poly pellets. Your needle is very thin, so just be aware of that. And I just use the protractor, and I also measure with each one 5 inches. See that? And then I personally prefer 5-inch squares. If you prefer smaller squares, tighter squares where the plastic poly pellets don't move, just make sure to make your squares smaller. And this is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and sew them magically with the power and magical strength of editing. I also sew an extra 1-inch seam, so therefore I make it a space of 1 inch, and then I sew an additional seam just in case anything ever snaps. There is always an extra seam there to keep the plastic poly pellets in. And again, the magical power of editing, I already went ahead and did the 4 rows. You can always make an additional row, but I find it easier to leave space at the top of the blanket, lap pad, pillowcase, whatever you're going to use, because that way none of the plastic poly pellets get out. And then kids can usually, if they don't like the feeling of all the bumps, they can usually squeeze through it and carry it at the top. And this is the finished result. They can put it over their shoulders, they can put it over their shoulder, play with it, mess with it. So now that you guys saw the video, I hope you guys are able to create your own weighted blankets. They are awesome. They are amazing. Make sure to take your time in feeling the fabrics. Make sure you know how to use your sewing machine. It is kind of like a beginner project, but if your lines are all crooked, that's totally okay. As long as they're sewn in, as long as you backstitched, your blanket is going to last you a very, very long time. As far as to finding where you could find the plastic poly pellets, I highly recommend you checking out Joann's coupons, Michael's, Hobby Lobby. Check out all their coupons so that you can get as many Polly pellets as you need. Don't forget to add also the weight when it comes to your blanket. This one is about 3 pounds, the one that I made. It's very, very light. If you are trying to purchase a blanket for a child, make sure to consult your occupational therapist or their occupational, an OT. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but it's an OT, and they usually work with kids who range from the autism spectrum and any other diagnoses. They can point you to the right direction and what kind of weight. If you have a newborn child, sudden infant death syndrome is real. It happens, and adding any kind of pressure over the child's body is not okay. And I'm only saying this because it happens. I have gotten requests to make blankets for babies, and I always say no, because sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS, is real. Okay? Any other questions when it comes to infants, I highly recommend you ask your pediatrician to be safe. With that, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next few days. Bye.